Hi, I'm the Handcraft Bandit and thanks for tuning in. I recently purchased a Palo Santo knife and initially I was skeptical about buying this one, but then as I got to hold it in my hands, I realized this is a professional tool. And even though it's very professional, I think it needs more thickness. So today we will be creating a knife sheath for it, for the handle, like this one. If you wish to follow along with me, please create a template, draw on paper a rectangle measuring 11 centimeters by 5.5 centimeters. You could make it 6 centimeters in case you want to cut a clean line after you glue it together. In this particular case, I've chosen a piece of vegetable tanned leather in black and it's 2 millimeters thick. If you are building this for the same exact knife, feel free to follow every single step I'm showing you. I'll be speeding up some parts and cutting out boring stuff. And yeah, let's move on to the next step. If you decide to get one of these knives, or even better, if you already own one, you'll see and you know how sharp it is. And now, after having used it for a couple of times, couple of days, I can say that you do have to sharpen it a lot, but when it's sharp, it cuts like through butter. After cutting out the rectangle, you can see me here testing it out. This is how I will bend it and stitch it together. Just be careful that the stitching line is at the bottom. You'll see in a bit what I mean and why this is important. Because the leather is a small bit thicker than I'm used to, I am marking here on the back side of the leather piece the center, so I can scrape out a channel. And before I do that, I will sharpen my tool. This tool is again a Palo Santo factory tool. I forgot the name. I think it's a shovel scraper. Please let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a video on how to sharpen these type of tools, because it looks simple, but there are a couple of steps that you have to do in advance before you start sharpening it. Drop me a comment below. In the next step, we will use the same tool to carve out the middle channel. And we do this to make sure that at the spot where the leather is bending, we do not create a too thick edge. If you've ever done leather works, you'll understand exactly what I mean. The next step is for us to bevel the edges. We do all of them except the long ones from underneath, because that's where they will glue together, so we don't have to do it from that side. When you work with this type of leather, you know that when you crease the edges, they turn out a small bit brighter. So you see me here using simple leather dye, black. This is not edge coat, so it's normal leather paint. If you have the burnishing cream, the Tokonole one in black, just use that. You don't have to use paint. You don't even have to use paint like I'm doing it here. If you like the contrast, it actually looks nice, but this time I will do it this way. The next step is to burnish those short edges, because after we glued them together, we cannot reach them anymore. I'm applying Tokonole. As you can see, this is the transparent one. By the time this video comes out, I will have the dark brown one and the black one, but in this video I only had the transparent one. That's why I had to use the paint in the previous step. For the next step, I highly advise you or recommend you to get one of these thin edge burnishers. You probably know the thicker ones, but for edges like this, the thin one is so much more handier and easier to use. When you're done with the burnishing, this is how they will look like. I hope it's visible for you to see how shiny the edges got. I think this is where you'll see it, yeah. Very beautiful. One more thing I like to do is using an edge roller or a roller like this, just to slightly flatten out the burnished edges. You'll see when you burnish them yourself, you see they turn in like a mushroom. This roller will help you make them very, very nice, very flat and beautiful. Again, we are doing a test with our knife. You see me here holding it the wrong way around. I think now I'm realizing it should be this way. Yeah, this is what I mentioned previously. It's important to make the stitch on the bottom half so you can hold it better. The next step is the gluing step, where I'll be using water-soluble leather glue. Usually I use the barge cement. It's chemical. It sticks way better than this one in a short term, meaning you apply it, you put the things together and they're stuck forever. This one needs a little bit more time to dry out. However, it's water-based and it's very easy to work with. So just be careful when you apply it, don't apply too much. Use a glue spreader like I'm using it here. I got this one in the craft shop. I think every craft shop has this, especially in the kids section. You can find them there for sure. And yeah, use one of these, spread the glue, and then attach the sides together. Of course, with the knife inside. For this step, I like using these clips. They're standard paper clips. You can get them in any stationery shop. And yeah, just put them together and let it dry for approximately 10 minutes. It won't be stone hard after 10 minutes, but it will hold together so you can start the stitching process. Once the glue has dried out, take the clips off, do a quick check if it holds, if it doesn't go apart, and then you can start the stitching process. I'm using a normal wing divider like here. Usually I use a 4mm wide stitching line from the edge of the knife, and now, as you can see, I'm doing a test line just to see how it will look like. And here I realized that that edge was too long. So you see, I'm doing a test to see how it feels on the fingers. It feels a small bit too long for my liking. So I decided to cut a small piece away. However, I did a mistake, because you see me now using the ruler to cut it. I should have put a piece of leather underneath it before doing the cut. because now it will be slanted, so that edge won't be perfectly straight. Here I set the wing dividers to roughly 1.5 millimeters, just to mark a line where I will cut it. And even with this I did manage to cut it perfectly straight. Learn from this mistake and do it better than me. You see, I have a spare knife here that I'm sharpening all the time. So this one has the replaceable blades, but when the blade goes blunt, I don't simply replace it, because that's a waste of resources. And one of these blades lasts me at least 6 months. You just have to be careful when you sharpen it, and it will work perfectly fine. Here's the famous moment. Watch me cut a perfectly not straight line. It looks good. It's not visible to the naked eye, but I could see it at that time. Okay, let's continue with the next step. Set the wing dividers back to 4 millimeters or whatever your preference is. Mark the stitching line and use a punching mat. Yes, you don't want to destroy your work mat. For the next step, I decided to use a Brooks French punch, I believe that's how you call these blades. They're flat, they're not diamond shaped, they're flat. Please let me know if you want to see a review on beginners tools and professional tools like these ones, and I'll make one. The next step is very important, and it is you have to measure out the holes before you start punching them. You have to make sure that they match the start and the beginning of the leather, so you won't end up punching half a hole at the end or at the beginning of the leather. And now you see me using a scrap piece of leather to put it underneath to make sure that the holes are leveled, and then just punch it. I hope your work table is sturdier than mine. You see, mine is just a standard work table. It's not thick and not very sturdy. That's why everything jumps around when I punch holes. When you're done with the hole punching, this is how they should look like, depending on what type of chisels you used. And the next step is defining how long the thread will be. I like to measure the full length of the stitching line, leave the thread a small bit longer, and then use 3 times that length. That's something I learned from my uncle. He's a professional handbag designer, and he said if you use 2 layers of leather, use 3 times the length. If you use 4 layers of leather, use 4 times the length, or 3 layers of leather. The next step is to prepare the needles with the thread, and it looks like I want to hide from you what I'm doing, but this is actually a very important step and a very important technique, where you poke the thread like this, and then you leave a loop down there, and then you pull it over, so you won't have any knots when it goes through the punched holes. This enables you to do stitching in a very easy way. And now you can start now you can start the stitching process. You can see me here wearing my fluffy pajamas. It's actually the middle of the day, and I forgot to turn on the heating. That's why I had to put on my fluffy pajama to keep myself warm. And yeah, if you want to learn more about stitching leather, there are millions of videos on YouTube that explain it million times better than I could. But if you want me to make a video like this because you like my technique, please let me know down in the comments and I'll make one for you. Also, please make sure you don't stab yourself with a pointy knife. You see it here poking into my belly. Just make sure you don't cut yourself. When you have the stitching done, you can continue with burnishing the edge. Unfortunately, I forgot to press record. So just apply the same steps like previously. Use Tokonole and the wood slicker and make a nice shiny edge for your knife. For the next step, I had to improvise. I had to move my press that I'm using to stamp the logo on my products, and I'm just realizing it looks so unprofessional. And yeah, this is what you have now to look at, and it's my second YouTube video, so please be mindful when you drop me a comment below. Be polite. This is it. There you have it. Thanks for watching. This is our final product. I might make a new one just to make it look perfect. And I'm just realizing something. I think that tip is so unprotected and dangerous. Please drop me a comment below and let me know if you want me to make another video for a protection sheet for the blade itself. A protection sheet that you can take off like this. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and if you want to see more, subscribe, like the video, and yeah, drop me a comment below. Bye bye.